has seen some better times. Well, my buddy poked a hole, now my weed falls deep inside. Please tug lightly on this bowl of mine. You like music, you like weed, well, we gonna be good friends indeed. This is how much I like more than smoking trees. They'll make you dance the do-si-do and teach you how the chiba grows. Smoke a bowl on the 420 radio show. On Lifestyle Radio.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
I'm trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio. The opinions expressed during this show are those...
And this is the 420 Radio Show. We're live on Lifestyle Radio, and tonight on Spreaker. Hello, Spreaker people.
Hello, Spreaker.
Hello, Spreaker. I am here with my pals, Chris Backer, Marcel Giggles Janak, Lauren McEachern, and our buddy Ross Middleton is here from Bma Hydroponics, and we're going to do our first grow show, which we tried to do last month, I have to say.
Yes, we did try that. But
we did, but it didn't work out.
For one reason or another, it didn't happen, right, Ross?
It did not, and I have to apologize to you guys and all of the listeners for not showing up, but I'm not just a grower of cannabis, I'm also a medicinal user, and sometimes your health just gets in the way, and it doesn't give you a lot of warning sometimes, and you just got to do what you got to do.
That's why we over-medicate on Friday nights.
Yes, and now that your pee-pee has been slapped, Ross, welcome to the show. Ross is going to be joining us every now and then with some grow tips and things like that. We are getting where are we now? We're in March
Just
4th. We have another when would be the prime day to start your garden outside? What would be the
outside?
Prime day? Yeah.
Depends on what part of the country you're in.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
last year here we were able to put them out in June.
Okay. And when do you usually?
June, right?
First month
in
June?
The year before we had frost on the last week of June.
Yeah, got spanked on that one.
What about you, Laurie? When do you put out? I was waiting for that.
I haven't put out that way in so many years I can't even count it. But I put my plants out according to the weather. Except for last year. Last year was like a month late here. I normally put them out to harden off the beginning of May.
Okay,
and then I only bring them in if it's below 5 degrees out.
All right, so we're now in March, which means it's the time of year when people start, looking around what strains they want to do. You must be getting a lot of calls nowadays because of what's going on, Ross.
Oh, I'm getting. We get calls every day. Not just for grow tips, which are always coming in, but we are like the local resource center for information on what's going on with, the court cases, with legalization. Everybody, calls up and says, dude, can I do it now? Can I get out there and grow it? It's like, yes. If you want to do it, they got 3 more weeks to decide whether they're going to appeal. I can't see them appealing, not with the kind of discussions they've had about being a court respecting government. And if they ever took it to the Supreme Court and lost there, that would kind of blow that whole theory for them. So I can't see that happening. So by August we're going to have a new growing system in place, and it's already been determined that it's a Section 7 charter violation. So 6 months or not, a charter violation is a charter violation. And if you're caught growing medicinally, at least right now, I think your odds of being convicted, you might get hassled, but your odds of getting convicted right now are pretty slim, I would say. And that's pretty much the advice I'm giving.
I'm giving the
It's
same
sad that
thing.
they're still-
Your
yeah.
your house may get trashed and your equipment and garden may be torn apart, but you probably won't go to jail for it.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
And
somebody's gonna stand on your face and point a gun at you and maybe shoot your dog.
Yeah,
and,
don't forget to shoot the dog.
the dog always gets shot. Yeah.
I mean, I understand you might get off, but it's the ramifications of having been raided is really it's rough. I see it on two people. If you have nothing, there's nothing left.
So
we get on average one call a week where somebody calls up and says, "The cops just raided me. What do I do?" And it's like, you know, like,
I don't
wow,
know.
we're now a legal service too. You know, we've got to give them legal
Good
advice.
Lord.
And the first thing we do is say, get a lawyer, but not one that lives in Belleville.
Well, one of the things I have to say that the counsel we have for our organization, the last time I was actually speaking to him, he was kind of amazed that there was so much confusion about whether or not cannabis is actually legal in Canada. He's been acting as duty counsel in Cornwall, I believe, and he said, you know, like he was called in as duty counsel, and he said, well, what are you charged with? And the kid says possession. He goes, did you have any drugs on you? He goes, no.
Huh?
Said, then how'd you get charged? Well, I had a little bit of weed. What makes you think it's legal? Right? And this is the common mindset of so many Canadians now. People who had licenses or Section 56 or MMA or MMPR or whatever, they're confused. People who have never had one are confused. Nobody's really sure what the hell's going on. And then you have Bill Blair sitting there going, oh no, it's still the law, we need to enforce it. Well, no. Some people will choose to enforce it, because let's face it, that's where this quote-unquote gray area came from in the first place.
It's never been grayer. Yeah, it's just as gray as it can get right now. And but I do think it's probably dropped on the priority list of a lot of law enforcement agencies, Belleville City Police not being one of them. But you know, the OPP and the RCMP, I don't think they see, at least, you know, small grows as being a real priority right now. And
if you draw attention to yourself, there has to be a level of discretionary conduct if you don't want anybody to fucking bother you.
This is absolutely true, and that's why I always recommend carbon filters, because the number one reason that people get raided is because somebody smelled it, and the next thing you know, they're at your door and they smell it too.
As long as you're not, like, trafficking to the street and somebody reports it. Right?
Well, you know, like if your neighbor smells it coming out of your house, you know, they'll call up and you know, what is it, Crime Stoppers, right? And they'll say, oh, my neighbor's house smells like skunks, right? Like, and the next thing you know, they knock on the door, you open your door, and a big waft of smell goes out, and right away they've got probable cause to come in.
I've done that.
Exactly.
That was always the biggest thing I worried about. I mean, I didn't mind the rest of the year, but come when it's time to harvest, man, sometimes it didn't matter how many carbon filters you had. And you're always worried that you're just going to be down there getting it done as fast as you can, and somebody's going to kick the door in.
Yeah.
Well, and really, that's the only time it smells bad, right?
Yeah, it always smells bad at the worst time, or is that the best time? I'm not sure which time.
Exactly. the most targeted time is when it smells the most pungent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that's it. Like, I've seen people, oh, well, they got ripped. And in some cases, I'm sitting here going, why are they taking plants now? Like, do they not understand that it's not ready? Like, you know?
That happens a lot. In fact, in this area, there have been roving gangs of guys with pickup trucks hauling like U-Haul trailers, dressed in camo with ATVs and GPS readings that were received from drones or ultralight aircraft, and then sold to these groups. And then they just go around to all the GPS readings, and away it all goes, prematurely picked, of course. And I guess usually it gets extracted, or I don't know what they do. I don't know how the hell you can sell,
Extract what?
The early buds, and do extractions, like just make oil or whatever. And
What a waste.
That's how they're getting high CBD strains.
well, at least low
Harvest
THC. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Don't wait for the rush. Do it now. Yeah, no, it's pretty. But all that hopefully is going to change in the near future, because the reason these guys do it, and the reason that people's homes get it invaded, they get home invasions and things like that, and they get ripped off out of their backyard or whatever, is because people know, or these people who do it know, that you're not just going to call the cops and say, I just got robbed. But
we will.
but
I'll give them the videotape of the little fucker getting the shit kicked out of him too.
Nah.
Yep, I got no problem with that.
That's the thing.
Well, and, when it is regulated, though, you don't have to worry about that anymore. When that if and when that happens, you can call them up and say, I've been robbed, and they're going to be obligated to investigate and arrest and convict people of that.
They already are. If you're legal and you're licensed, they're already obligated.
Yes.
Because I know we've already done it right here.
Yes, and if anybody out there who is listening, who has a license to produce cannabis gets ripped off, call the freaking cops.
Oh, yeah,
they are
for
there
sure.
to serve and protect you.
That's right.
Yep.
Enough of this crap. We're not bending over and just taking it anymore just because we happen to use cannabis instead of pills.
Oh,
I have seen people accept the shoddiest treatment just because,
you know what the worst thing I hear about this all the time too is, they raided my house and they took my kids.
Yeah.
They took my kids. What? They took your kids? Because you had a few plants in your house?
Oh my, show me a parent that's taking a couple of oxys every day.
Oh yeah.
That's not.
And that's okay. That's acceptable.
Okay.
That's acceptable, but you can't sit out on your porch while your kid is inside watching TV without somebody going,
Oh, I know.
It's
what?
ridiculous.
I hate the smell of cigarette smoke. I hope none of you guys are smokers, but I was smoked for 27 years, and of course I've been quit now for 19 years, and now I'm a smoke Nazi. if I'm in the line at Tim Hortons and the guy in front of me is smoking cigarettes, I'm like, "Ooh, that smells horrible!" Oh, I wish I could call the cops on him.
It's been 4 years for me. It's been 4 years for me, so I know that feeling. I'm starting to turn into a smoke Nazi. Lori will be soon behind us.
Me too, and I just quit in November. It came on quick.
My buddies come down and hang out because in my building I'm kind of grandfathered. I was here before the building went non-smoking, and so they smoke cigarettes, and I'm like, I open the windows wide. So I'm sitting here in a parka, and everybody's going, man, it's cold in here. Don't you have the heat on? I'm, well, yeah, quit smoking. Right?
Wow.
I don't mind being around somebody smoking, but inside in a small apartment, it gets real bad.
Yeah.
There you go. There's a perfect example. We have 5 people on air tonight.
Yeah.
5 people who use cannabis as medicine.
Yep.
Now, one of us, I think, is a cigarette smoker, although Marcel does
use
roll,
tobacco.
oil, and tobacco to medicate.
Yes.
But, yeah, so, Al's quit.
4
Ross
years.
quit. I just quit in November. Did you ever smoke cigarettes, Chris?
I was 2 packs a day. I quit about 9 years ago because I used...
Fucking right.
Just using joints, I quit.
Yeah, I switched.
Yeah, me too.
I just switched.
Yeah.
But you had
Isn't that awesome?
You had some help by way of an e-cigarette though, didn't you?
Yes.
For a little while. I
still use that.
I got an e-cigarette from a guy, Jerry Hacker, I think his name was.
Well, I've
down
never
in the
put
States.
nicotine shit in it though.
Well,
only,
I had
glycerin.
I had the real nicotine shit. It has 24 milligrams.
I've never used that.
But the e-cigarette didn't last that long. And so I went out, I started buying the ones, down at Becker's. You can get them, Canadian brand for, $10, whatever it was. And I got to the point where I couldn't even stand the taste of that.
Yeah, cool.
You know?
Good. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So listen, folks. It's 1:15, and I got a song I want to play by a gentleman named Bobby Fricks. Nice guy. He sent me a couple of songs that we're going to play today. The first one is called 420 Local. This isn't a big production. It's just, a guy who likes to play the guitar and sing about cannabis. So we're going to listen to that. We're going to come back. Laurie's here. Marcel is here. Chris is here. And we're chatting with Ross Middleton of Bma Hydroponics. And I'm going to play your commercial, Ross.
Awesome. Thank you.
And we will be right back after Ross's commercial and a song. This is the 420 Radio Show. Come in the chat room and say hi. Ask your questions, because you got like 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not in the group here. I'm not a grower by any means. So you got 4 people who have been growing for years and years and years, and they can probably answer any question you got. So come on in the chat room and ask them. And we'll be right back. It's the 420 Radio Show.
Growing your own vegetables, flowers, or even medicinal plants can be a challenge without the right equipment and proper know-how. At Bma Hydroponics, not only are they your urban horticultural experts and suppliers, but their staff holds the customer's needs paramount to making a sale. Family-owned with decades of experience and knowledge, they offer free advice in person, by phone, or email. Bma Hydroponics wants to ensure you have the advice you need, which is why you'll find tips and tricks on different ways to grow, like wick, ebb and flow, drip, or aeroponic system, as well as other helpful links at bmahydroponics.com. If you can't find what you're looking for, just let them know, and they'll do everything they can to get what you're looking for. At Bma Hydroponics, each staff member also possesses a federal exemptee MMAR license, making their strong suit empathy, experience, and dedication to their customers. Because when you know how to grow, you'll have results that make you proud. Bma Hydroponics in Belleville, Ontario. Visit bmahydroponics.com.
I can't smoke pot, hell, I can't even wear my earring. Sick and tired of people telling me what I can and cannot do. Guess I'll just pack up my guitar and move to Music City. Starve to death like most starving artists do. I can smoke all the pot that I want in my old 420 Local. If I want, I can even wear an earring in my nose. No longer matters how I vote, or even if I want to. No longer matters how I wear my hair or my clothes.
Don't hog that, man. Pass it on. I ain't you wouldn't even talk about it. Alright, don't hog it. You need to start saying what you're doing. Heck yeah, pass it.
I can smoke all the pot that I want in my old 420 Local.
Willie Nelson would kick your ass for smoking that much.
If I want, I can even wear an earring in my nose.
Don't bogart, pass it on, pass it on.
No longer matters how I vote, or even if I want to. No longer matters how I wear my hair or my clothes. No longer matters how I vote, or even if I want to. No longer matters how I wear my hair or my clothes.
Okay, we're back. Yeah.
Nobody misses us.
We're back. Nobody.
Where
Yeah.
What's that?
There's nobody listening. What are you talking about?
Nobody listens to us either?
No.
No?
We've been doing this for 3 years for no reason. Actually, 8 years for no reason.
8
Well, you
years,
got-
no reason.
Yep.
You got at least 4 listeners, Al.
At least.
I mean, I know that.
Well, there's
Well, almost.
there's 1, 2, 3, 4,
Kinda.
5, 6 people in the chat room. So I don't
Oh,
look. I
okay.
don't look at the stats, right? So
Hey, did you know? Hey, did you notice that
what?
Chris Backer actually found the chat?
Yeah, he
room?
found the chat room. Look at that.
You guys are smart, Alex. Yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't that hard. It was like we drew you a map and everything, and you still got lost. So
Well, because the stuff wasn't there for me to click on. I don't know what you're talking about. You're all crazy.
You're crazy.
All y'all are nuts.
So
or Chris over-medicated again.
I have a question for you guys, and we're going to continue our conversation with Ross about growing. Of course, we're going to do that, and Ross is going to be back now and then to help fill in for whoever's not here, and we'll be talking with him about growing stuff too then. But I have a question about this little interview Mr. Trudeau had this week. I have it here, and I wanted to know if anybody wanted to listen to it.
He doesn't say anything, though.
That's why I wanted to know.
I haven't heard it.
Should
I
we
didn't
play
bother
it?
listening because I knew it was just going to be dribble.
Should we listen
I'm gonna
to?
guess it's the same stuff. Yeah.
Maybe we could play it
and
behind
I'd like
while
to
we talk.
apologize to the Liberal Party of Canada, but I had no choice. I had to unsubscribe from your emails because seriously, you got to stop asking me for fucking money.
I know. It's getting crazy.
Oh, me too.
Come
$5,
on.
$5. Good God, if I had $5, I'd donate it to my own organization.
If I had $5, I'd go down the road for a fucking pop.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Come on.
they're
That's what we're
asking
trying to
people
fix
every
here.
single day for donations, and like my big thing every month when I get my pension is to go to the grocery store and get my fresh fruit day.
Fresh fruit
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
You've been looking.
Two choices.
That's her one thing she looks forward to every day.
Eh?
Had a lettuce and a cucumber. And you're
Fresh
done.
fruit day.
Oh gosh, yeah,
That's hilarious.
$25 a month allowance for fresh fruit, and I get it once, and I eat it in the week, and woohoo!
Okay, well,
there's
so
my vitamin C and all that other good stuff. Let's hope it lasts 3 more weeks.
I will remove Mr. Trudeau from our playlist, and we will continue our conversation with Ross about growing.
Sure. I think
Sure.
I'd like to know about growing indoors. I've never grown indoors.
I was just going to go there. I had some questions I see. I've had this conversation with Ross. So let's back up a few months, Ross, shall we?
Sure.
Okay. I came to Ross because I had a patient who had some questions. So we started talking about the difference between, because this is, what you have. One of the first things you have to decide is when you're growing indoors, where you're going to do it. You're going to use a closet. You're going to get a tent. Are you going to use a HDI, or is it HID? HID light? Are you going to use the new LED light, or are you going to use the new T5 light? Okay,
So many choices
There's so
these
many
days.
choices. It's like tuna. You used to go in. There was one can. It had a picture of Charlie on it. You grabbed it. Now you got choice. Okay.
Yeah, but you forgot induction lights too.
Oh,
That's right. There's also
well,
induction lights.
Nobody.
And technically CFLs, because people still can grow with CFLs.
Okay, so we've got all these light choices. Now, do you want to talk about what you're doing, Marcel, or not yet?
I don't care.
Okay, so Marcel's got a new light that he's working with and you're reviewing for the company, and Marcel grows yearly for himself, but usually outdoors, right, Marcel?
Right.
Okay, so
I prefer outdoors. I can grow indoors or outdoors.
Yeah, no, I realize that, but that usually you grow outdoors.
Right.
But because of the changes in the system, you guys, both you and your wife, don't any longer have a designated grower. So you've had
no.
You still do.
No, I don't have a grower.
Okay.
My wife is her own grower.
Okay.
And her license is outdoors.
Okay, so so it allows you a little bit
now
of
with
liberty.
the new changes,
Yes.
I'm moving my grow to here.
Okay.
And then I'll split mine indoors and outdoors.
Okay. But
the reason I'll split mine indoors and outdoors is the indoors allow me to keep mothers.
You used to use a DG though, didn't you?
Pardon me?
You used to use a DG.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
The reason I'm hitting on the DG thing is because for people who don't know, because I'm sure we've got some new listeners. Okay, so for people who don't know, a DG is a designated grower. In Canada, in the old system, in the MMAR system, you were allowed to have a designated grower, somebody who would grow for you if you couldn't grow your own. You could also go to Health Canada and buy from a cave somewhere in Alberta. But that's besides the point. So now we've got dirtweed. Dirtweed. It's
cannabis mine.
The cannabis mine. Yeah, I wish I had a spooky sound effect to play, but I don't. So, anyways, but now we're in a new system, and that's even on hold now. So we're kind of in a stasis up here. But what people are doing is they're getting ready for grow season. So I'm a guy who comes along and says, okay, I've got enough room and I've got a closet. Which is best, Ross? Ross says to me, well, we've got lots of different options that you can do, from tents to ways to do it outside, right?
Sure.
So, but the first thing you really have to decide is, are you going to do it in a tent? And what lights are you going to use, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got their own situation. They've got their own space.
Yeah.
Some people have small spaces. Some people have big spaces.
Yeah.
Some people, need a lot of medicine. Some people don't need a lot, very much. So, that's your first thing is, how much do you need, and what kind of space do you have, and then I usually take it from there. If you have a limited space, like the place I'm living in now, I got a new place and I've got a limited space. I've got a single bedroom that's not being used. I just got myself a 5 foot by 5 foot Gorilla Grow tent, and I mean, this thing is awesome. It's just like it's the top notch grow tent that you can find. It's got all the connections. I've got air cooled lighting, carbon filter. It's just an awesome tent, and I can do all the medicine I need just in that 5 foot by 5 foot space with a single 1,000 watt digital HID ballast, and it's just working fantastic for me. So I'm really enjoying that. I have grown outdoors, and if you can grow outdoors, I had a license for 20 plants outdoors, and I'm not going to say on air how many pounds I got from those 20 plants, but 2 years it lasted me, let's put it that way.
Well, that's good.
I know how much you can get.
So do I.
I know you do. I'm just not going to say the number on air.
That's all right. I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. So Marcel's going to be you're testing a tent as well, or you've got a tent, Marcel?
I've got a tent.
Okay.
I'm testing the light, I'm testing the autopot, and I'm testing living soil.
So you're basically doing it the same way that Ross was just suggesting. Yep. Okay.
Actually, I'm picking up my filter on Monday.
I was going to ask you about filters. I had a very extensive conversation with Ross about filters, and
in my case, I don't really need a filter.
Yeah.
Because really I don't give a shit about the smell.
Of course.
It's my house, my rules type thing.
It's your air conditioning or your air purifying smell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But because I grow outdoors, I mean, the whole friggin' neighborhood's going to smell it one way or another anyways, because I don't have a big carbon filter for my backyard.
Well, I can get you one that's pretty big.
No.
You pitch that sale, Ross. Go for it.
It's called the Southwest Breeze.
Yeah, the aromatherapy is my gift to the neighborhood.
Yep.
So, and that's why I like skunkier strains.
Ellen's in the chat room, for fuck's sakes. She FFS's me.
How much does it cost?
That's how Ellen speaks to me.
To grow inside.
Hi, Al, for fuck's sakes.
It costs Ross more than it costs me in power. How's that?
Why?
Because the light I'm using.
Tell us about the light.
Because the light I'm using is an LED, but it's a controllable LED that runs off a computer interface. So I can change the timers and the light schedule completely on the computer that does it for the light. So I have it set for dusk to dawn, or dawn to dusk, I guess.
Yeah.
So it slowly powers on, and then builds up intensity during the day and then slowly fades out, the same as the light spectrum does outdoors.
And
is that one where you can change the spectrum on it too? Like
Yeah.
go more
Yes.
blue and more red? Yeah.
I
Awesome.
read the
that's probably
specs on
the-
it. It looks really
the
cool.
best one.
It's going to the Cadillac of light is what it is.
Well, you want to
It
tell
is.
us the
But
name?
it's a 1,000 watt output with a 600 watt cost. So
Was that one you told me was like a $2,000 light?
Yeah.
Yep.
What's the name of it,
They are
Marcel?
pricey.
It's a Heliospectra LX60.
Okay, and that's the name of the company.
No, well, Heliospectra is the name of the company. The light that I have is the LX60, but they're coming out with a new one that's a light bar.
Uh-huh.
That's similar to using a T5 setup, but it's all LED again. It doesn't have the adjustable spectrum that the LX60 does.
It doesn't have fluorescence in the fixture, does it?
No, it doesn't have fluorescence in the fixture. I think it's
Okay.
just all LED, but it's in a strip format instead of a big square or block like you normally have. It's like a 4-foot light bar.
Okay.
So you can replace your T5s with it.
You know, all the LEDs though that are worth their salt are pretty darn expensive. Like you just
Darn right they
mentioned
are.
the price on the one that you got there, and that's the kind of money you got to spend if you really want to get the results from a LED. I mean, I have people coming in and saying, "Oh, I just got this LED light for $230 off Amazon, and I'm gonna grow me some pot." And it's like,
Good luck.
Oh, good luck with that.
Here's a CFL bulb that costs $1.50 to get the same light bulb.
I got those too. It's like, my favorite one is I've been doing this like since I grew my first crop in 1977 in Florida. Okay, so I mean I've been growing for a long time. I've been growing indoors since the mid 90s, and I've been running a hydroponics store for 13 years. I've got a wife who's a horticultural guru, and I have people coming in and asking for advice, and then you give it to them, and they say, "Oh, but my buddy said," and you go, "Okay, so your buddy said do this, all right?" And I'm trying to tell you how to do it here. You can listen to your buddy, or you can listen to me. It's up to you. But hey, bring me a sample back. I want to see what you got. And you wouldn't believe. I get samples all the time, and I got to tell you, and I hope none of my customers are listening, but 3/4 of them just don't. You know where they go. They get filed. And
That's all right. They don't know which ones they are, Ross.
That's true. That's true.
I'm the same way, Ross, and I get a lot of samples, and most of the samples I get, I just donate away to other people that could use the medicine.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I do too. And I've got a lot of people.
Like samples. I never get samples. People want to pass up samples. You see me walking around, I'll take samples.
I'll give you samples when I see you, Chris.
Some of the samples I've seen, Chris, you would not want. Trust me, you just wouldn't want them.
I actually had somebody come to me and ask me if I would help them set up a grow room and help them to grow, and I said I will on the one condition. And they said, "What's that?" And I said that you take no advice from any other person.
I'm like that with computers.
So and so says, because I really don't give a shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
That happens quite often. Although we do have our loyal customers who won't make a move without asking us first, and they listen to everything we say. You just get that occasional one who comes in and they say, my buddy who's been growing for 1.5 years told me to do this, and it's like, oh, okay. Well, that little curly CFL bulb there you're using is going to really kick ass for you. Enjoy. But what I'm selling the most of right now, and like the LEDs are awesome if you spend the money. People in this town are poor; they can't afford that kind of stuff. It's still the electronic, the e-ballast, digital ballasts are pretty much the state of, that's the standard as far as what most people are using indoors. They're dimmable. You can get them 1,000 watt, 400 watt, 600 watt. The power is, your hydro draw is not as high as the old corn coil ballasts. I still know a few people who use some of those, but like why, I don't know. That's really the way to go as far as I'm concerned. If you can't afford to get a $2,000 LED, you need to stick with HID, the high intensity discharge lights. You're just not going to get the intensity from a compact fluorescent or a T, which is a T5 or any other compact fluorescent. Induction lighting is good. They're coming a long way, and
their prices are starting. Their prices are starting to come down a bit too.
They are. You can get 400 watt induction, I think, for around $450 now, which is getting, it's getting down there. You can still get a digital for about $290, so they still got a ways to go. But
I got a question for you, Ross.
Lots of people buying seeds right now, and it's a lot of indoor and a lot of outdoor, and I've been so amazed by the seed sales and just sales in general that have increased since the election, and then increased again since the Allard ruling.
Yeah.
And we couldn't be happier. When Harper ended the MMAR, our stocks went down kind of like the LPs did just recently.
Yeah.
And we went through a couple of years. We've been through a couple of years of kind of starvation, right, where we've been just kind of going paycheck to paycheck. Or I should say rent check to rent check. We pay ourselves rent, and that's how we made our money, right? So it's so nice to be seeing the business coming back again, and people getting back into again, and basically saying, you know what, screw it, I don't care anymore. I'm not waiting. I'm going for it, and why the hell not? Because they can't possibly just run around. They don't have the budget to go around and get every little dinky grower that's out there, doing stuff for themselves. And when you can grow for, I put a post on the Bma Hydroponics Facebook page where I did a comparison, and I showed an LP price where they had a special on of a certain strain, and it was $8.99 a gram. And I basically, I put that on the top, and I made a little meme, and I put on the bottom, with a little picture of a bud, said, $1 a gram, ask us how. I got so many private messages, people coming in the store, can you sell me some of this $1 a gram weed? I want some of this $1 a gram.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I can tell you how to grow it for $1 a gram, or less. And it's just funny. It got a lot of attention, and it's good because it helps people to understand that is the difference between growing your own and having to buy it either from the black market or a lot of the dispensaries, or from an LP. If you're getting it for $5 a gram, you're lucky.
Hey, I like that promotion. Good one. Good on you, dude. I like that.
Yeah. So if I can show you how to do it for 89 cents a gram, what are you waiting for, right?
Well, I think I heard Ross say, Al say something about Ellen's asking how much so and so wants to know how much to grow his own. Well, it totally depends how you do it, where you do it, how much you do. What strain you choose. Clearly, from what you guys were saying, the range of equipment to do indoor is massive.
Oh, but that's just the lights, because we haven't even discussed, are you going to grow in soil, or are you going to grow in
we'll get there. We'll get
drip
there.
system, ebb and flow? Yeah, what are you going to feed them?
Is there any kind of a standard for when somebody asks you how much a gram to grow indoors? Can you give them a ballpark, or what?
I normally say less than $1. If it's costing you more than $1 a gram, you're doing something wrong.
Absolutely, I agree with that. There's no doubt about that. And like just touch on what it costs to grow outdoors. I mentioned the crop that I grew outdoors, and I added up all the numbers as far as what I had to pay to do what I did, and for all the nutrients. I had a 300-gallon reservoir, using Canna nutrients, all the best stuff, and it came out to 14 cents a gram.
Yeah, and I do back to nature growing, and I do it for 3 cents.
Yeah. So you get it outdoors, and the costs just go down, exponentially. You can, it's nearly free, So, hopefully there's going to be a decent system put in place, both medicinally and recreationally, and people are allowed to do it outdoors. And hey, I also did a little cost analysis on a a 500-acre farm, and it came out less than 7 cents a gram. I mean, Lori, I know you say you did it for pennies a gram too. If there's some sort of provision made for large-scale outdoor growing, there's going to be so much pressure put on the price per gram that it's going to be really, really hard for some to compete with that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
If I can do large-scale outdoor growing, look out, because I got enough room to put 1,000 plants.
And
there you go.
I was doing the calculations the other day. It works out to, like, the way I space mine, I can put 1,100 plants in an acre.
Yeah.
I grow in pots, so...
Yeah, I grow in the
If you
ground.
guys keep talking like this, I'm going to need a tissue.
It wouldn't hurt my feelings to go out and get 1,000 pots.
Marcel, are you using the fabric pots, like the root pouch or the smart pots? Is that what
I'm trying all different kinds of pots.
People are having great success with those outdoors and indoors. By the way, they're a root pruning pot. Yeah.
I've looked at the cloth ones, and I've tried a couple different ones, but. If you ever want to thrill, go on Google and put in there 10-pound plants and Google that, and you will see some farms in California where they're using 200-gallon smart pots. Yeah.
And they are genuinely 10-pound plants. These things are like 16 feet tall and 12 feet in diameter. They're just ginormous plants, being held up with netting and stakes and like all kinds of stuff. It's just
steel
incredible.
Cages.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Stakes. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Homer.
Cannabis and steak. What more could you ask for?
Oh man.
And when you're done, you pull the dirt out of the pot and it's full of loonies or something, right?
Well, and I think what this speaks to is the absolutely massive range of possibilities.
There are a huge range of possibilities, and depending on how it goes, is going to, just enormously affect how what we all pay for cannabis, whether it's medicinal or recreational. And I hope they do it right. I mean, if you look to somewhere like Uruguay, which is a great precedent to look at, they don't allow people to sell it for more than $1 a gram. That's their cap on their price.
That's government distributed, though, isn't it?
Well, it's private. It's private growers, and it's sold in dispensaries.
I thought you were limited to like £1 a year for medical, though.
It's recreational and medicinal, and I think you're allowed an ounce or two a month or something like that. Yeah, so there is a limit on how much you can actually get.
Ounce or two a month?
Yeah. It's like they're pretty restrictive on the amount you can actually purchase.
300 some grams a year, I believe it is.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. I go through that in a week.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that you can't get your buddy who doesn't smoke to go in there and buy you some, if you've reached...
Marcel would need a lot more friends now.
Yeah,
I need a lot of friends.
It's the purpose of having a fucking system if you're doing that.
I go through 30 grams a day as it is, man.
And that totally, if you have your buddy going to buy it for you, that totally defeats the purpose of the system. It's the same like having somebody older go and buy your booze. Like, fucking seriously? Why have a system at all?
And that's the problem with over-regulation, too. If you over-regulate something, people are just going to find ways around it, and you're going to go back into that gray zone or the black zone or whatever, market you're going to.
I have to say... Okay, so we were having this conversation about the alcohol model, okay? When I was growing up, even though there were the LCBO or liquor control boards here in Ontario where you went in and you filled out a piece of paper and you gave it to the guy back and filled it in and brought you a brown bag and shit, there were still bootleggers. You could still go buy it, there were lots of people all around that you could go and get, a 2-4 in the middle of the night for however much, whatever. I don't know if that's as prevalent anymore. So it's entirely possible that model could work.
Yeah, although selling it in the LCBO is not something that I think
No. I didn't say in the LCBO. I meant
but using that model, yeah,
with a retail outlet like a dispensary, and then the LPs as the suppliers, like Seagram's and whoever the fuck supplies the liquor stores. You know what I mean?
As long as they allow the craft growers, like the craft brewers,
right.
and those types of, there's nothing. I think that's a good model for them to use. But people like the Premier of Ontario, they just jump right into liquor stores, and then you get the drugstores, Shoppers Drug Mart. All of a sudden now they want to be cannabis.
I stopped drinking alcohol after 30-some years of being an alcoholic. I quit drinking 9 years ago. Do you think I'm going in an LCBO to fucking buy my medicine?
No, I don't.
Well,
think
not to mention how the two interact. There's only there's only one thing that cannabis interacts adversely with, and that's alcohol.
Right.
So and you're going to put it in the same store. So it doesn't.
Advised. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But like our premier sees it as I think as a cash cow, and I already she's already come out and said that she's looking to try to sell the LCBO to private.
Well, we just started putting liquor in grocery stores, didn't they?
Beer and wine, I think. Yeah, I don't think they've got liquor in there yet, but
no, but we just started getting beer and wine in our grocery stores, which we'd never had before, except like the wine rack in the corner of the grocery store by the front door, right?
Yep, that's right.
And now it's on grocery shelves.
Yep. So here's the most highly addictive, highly abused, highly dangerous, highly damaging, domestic abusing, car crashing drug in the world. Now being sold in grocery stores. And if you dare make that suggestion about cannabis, it's like, won't somebody think of the children?
Oh my God.
I am.
Everybody think of the children.
Yeah.
I tell you, the children are a lot more adept at opening a bottle and glug, glug, glug than they are at getting the stuff, breaking it up, grabbing a paper, rolling it up, finding a lighter. Come on, folks.
Yeah, I remember being a kid and going to the liquor store and buying a box of Wonder Wine and making my own.
Yeah. Yum.
I remember when I was like 15 years old, we used to get this wine called Bright 67. It was 99 cents for a bottle.
Yeah.
99 cents. And we'd go out in a field somewhere and just, drink our faces off, puke our guts out, go home and get in trouble. And, like that was okay though.
Well, and honestly, I started purchasing liquor in the liquor stores when I was 14 years old because I was really tall, had big boobs, and high heels.
Sounds good to me.
Well, at that time, nobody bothered challenging my age.
Yeah.
Right? And I was purchasing, I remember spending my 16th birthday in a bar, for God's sake.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
They can preach what about the children all they want. We who have lived here outside their ivory towers know all about the children because we've been those children. And
we were those children, that's right. And,
exactly.
And I know my first joint I smoked, I was 14 years old. And, I'm still waiting for the schizophrenia to kick in. It's just not happening, and I know a lot of people who started that young too, and I don't know anybody who's got schizophrenia. So.
I was born with ADHD. I don't have to wait for it. It's already there.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous because it is the one thing that will shut me down if I'm having a rough day. It just turns everything off.
Yep.
Yeah.
My son is ADHD. Well, he was ADD. He's like, my son is 40 years old now, and when he was in school, that was when they very first started calling it ADD. And of course, he got that diagnosis, and he was put on Ritalin, and it was just a horrible situation that he had to go through, and we had to go through, and it wasn't fun for anybody. And he still has it today. But, he uses cannabis too, and it helps him to focus.
They say that you grow out of it, but you don't. I was diagnosed back when they were calling it hyperactivity disorder. Okay.
Yes.
So, it's the only thing that works for me. I mean, sure, I need help with an antidepressant. That's, because I don't have access to it. So you do what you got to do to use it. But Yep. If you've got to do nothing else but use cannabis in conjunction with other medicine until you have the resources to get just cannabis going.
Yep.
You got to do what you got to do. I have a question for you. What do you know about the Sunblaster nanodomes? It's from Future Harvest, and I bought one to start the vegetable garden, actually. And it's a T5, and it's a nice little kit.
It's a T5. What wattage would it be?
It's a Nanotech T5 reflector. Oh, no, okay, I see. I'm having a hard time reading it because I don't have my glasses. Here's my glasses.
See, because the wattage is so important, especially when you're talking about T5s, because they're compact fluorescents, and
it's
if you don't have
it's an 18-inch T5.
Yeah, it's a shorter T5. I sent Marcel the link. I think he looked at it.
No, I just Googled it.
It's here. It is here. Okay, it's.
But I remember you. Yeah, you did send me this and showed me this before, and it's a cute little thing.
It's an 18-inch T5 HO 1600K combo light, and what it is it comes with a dome that the light sits on there, and it's got a little reflector. And then if you buy two of them, you put them side by side, and then you've got a double dome, and you've got a nice starting point for your garden. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter what you're starting. This is a good seed starting thing. I think
absolutely. I used two 2-foot T5s to get my seedlings started this year, and they work great for that. You can get your plants going, get them up to the second, third set of leaves, and but if you're going to take them much beyond that,
well, you see, that's the thing, Ross, because I went to the website and stuff like that. You can get up to a 4-foot bulb, but they've got these kits that you can buy that you string 7 bulbs together, and you end up with a 100-watt T5 bank of bulbs. They run. I think I paid $49.99 for the mini greenhouse package, which came with one light and the dome and all that. Now the bulb itself, or the light itself, is it's a full spectrum, and it's
so did you say 1600K?
6400.
6400. Okay,
yeah.
It's a full spectrum.
So we worked it out. We worked it out to be about the equivalent to a 98-watt HID. I think that's what we worked it out to, and like that would be okay, wouldn't it? To do like a closet grow.
To start.
No,
it would be okay to start with, but for finishing, if you want a decent product at the end, it's just not. It just doesn't have the intensity.
Okay, no, but here's my argument:
the density, the yield, all of the stuff that you really want. You see those photographs online or in magazines, and if you want that, you're not going to get that.
Okay, but here's my argument: it's better than what some people have now. Okay.
Well, I sell a lot of 6 and 8 bank pro lights, which are the ganged up, like you'll get like 8 or 4-foot long T5s all put together. If you get one of those, you might be able to get a decent.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. The bank of 7, it worked out to the equivalent of about 120 watt regular bulb that you would use. Right.
These 8 bankers are like 400 watt T5s.
Okay, and they're the full 4-foot.
4-foot, and there's 8 of them all teamed together, and it's all in one fixture.
Okay.
And I have people who have decked out entire rooms who have bought like 6 or 8 of them, and actually finished under those lights. You keep them like 4 to 6 inches above the top of the plant, right? And you can't grow a real tall plant because they don't have the light penetration that gets all the way down to the bottom.
Okay.
But if you grow yourself a nice, stubby little short plant, and you put a few of those over top of it, you can get a decent product at the end.
And what do they run?
Cost-wise, it's going to be in the range of an electronic ballast. If you got a 400-watt e-ballast, it would probably cost you less than this 8-bank T5, which is of the same wattage.
Yeah.
And you would probably get a better result, to tell you the truth. I mean, to be totally honest with you,
Okay.
a 400-watt HID with a nice high-pressure sodium bulb in there is going to give you the kind of light penetration that you need to grow a half decent-sized plant and to get the density of the end product. It's going to give you the yield. It's going to give you the potency, all the things that you want, all that nice sparkle. And that's what I try to keep people going towards. Some people have unlimited budgets and they can pay the money. They can get the big LEDs and the big Pro Light T5s and they'll do it that way. And there's some argument to be made about the savings on hydro, because hydro is pretty expensive these days. Yeah. But how expensive is it really? I mean, it's the tail of the scale is what gives you your cost analysis at the end of it all. And when it's all dry and you put it on the scale and it comes out to X number of grams, and you look at how much you paid for hydro and how much you paid for equipment, and you do the math, you still can't beat those HIDs. I don't think that's just my observations.
It sounds to me the most cost-effective way to do this would involve doing both, starting them inside and then taking them out.
Yes, absolutely. If the lowest cost would be to start a plant indoors, get it up a foot or so, tall, 2 feet if you can, and then take that outdoors at your earliest convenience, depending on where you live. Like here, we talked about it earlier. Like here in Southern Ontario, May 24th is like that's G Day. That's the day everybody goes out and drops them out there is May 24th. And other parts of the country, you can't do that. But if you can get a head start, you can get some awesome yields outdoors, and you're talking pennies a gram. Yeah. And there's some really nice fertilizers for outdoors too. If you're doing a guerrilla garden, there's a product on the market called Dagda. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this. It's a 30-day release granular fertilizer, and it comes in a grow and a bloom formula, and it only lasts 30 days, so you have to reapply it every 30 days. But that's a good thing, because when it comes to the middle of August and you want to switch over to the bloom, you can run out of the grow formula, start applying the bloom formula, and it washes in. It's water soluble, so it just washes right in immediately. And when you don't want it to be there at the end of the year, it's gone. Unlike some of the other outdoor fertilizers like Osmocote. I don't know if you've ever heard of Osmocote, but it's a 90-day release, and it's high in nitrogen, and it's got a high residual. So at the end of the year, when you want your plants to be flushed and you want to get all that crap out of there, you can't do it with that kind of stuff. So the Dagda is an excellent product and so easy to use and so forgiving. I sell skid loads of that in the spring, and it's very, very popular fertilizer for outdoors for any of that are going to be growing outdoors and don't want the fuss and muss of going out and watering every day and mixing your nutrients. It's an awesome way to do it.
Wow. What do you call my kind of gardening?
Lori gardening.
Year before last, I watered 4 times.
I call that a non-drought year.
Yeah, no, dude. I grow entirely different than anybody I've ever heard. Yeah. I start in organic potting soil. Then the next time up into a pot, I put it into organic potting soil, but I cut it with worm castings. And then the last pot before it goes in the ground, it's cut with the actual dirt out of the garden.
Yep.
And the only nutrients I ever use are worm castings and blackstrap molasses with no sulfur. And once or twice I've had to mediate with a little bit of potassium on like 3 plants. That's it. Everything else I just turn in the botanicals that's on the ground, and that's what feeds them, and I get a pound of plant every year.
Yeah, and that's got a lot to do with the soil that you have there on your property that you're
That's
mixing.
exactly it. Yes,
Yeah.
that's why I can grow like nobody I've ever heard.
Ellen
You know
has
what I mean?
a question in the chat room. She's asking why would you use chemicals at all?
Because chemicals are everything that you buy at the grocery store. Every vegetable that you buy, every fresh vegetable, they're all grown with what's called food grade chemical fertilizers.
Okay.
So you're already consuming them, and they're not a bad thing. Okay, like that's what is used to. If it wasn't for food grade chemical fertilizers, there'd be a lot more starving people in the world right now, and I guarantee you everybody, unless you're buying organic, what they so-called organic vegetables, then that's what you're getting, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's not poison. It's not like Monsanto throwing something out there that's going to poison you. If you do it right and you use the right mixtures, and you don't overdose your plants, and then you do a proper clearing regimen at the end where you possibly use some clearing solution or a lot of water to flush things out, you can wash out chemical fertilizers pretty easily and pretty quickly. It really, organic, when you grow organic, that is actually harder to flush than the food grade chemicals. So the residual value with organic fertilizers, like like some people like to use bone meal or blood meal or mix up, their own. Yeah, I know, and that's got such. I know.
It's crap, dude.
I know, but the people call that organic, and it's like, no, I just
God.
away from that because it's just and I've had samples of that too, and it tastes terrible. It's just awful stuff, and.
Personally, I have a problem with any kind of chemical fertilizers at any point in the process, apparently, because I started using medicinal in 2006, and until I started consuming only my own product, I lost my voice regularly. I sounded way shittier than this. Ask anybody else that's been listening to me for years. And since I started only growing my own...
Hang on, let me find an old show.
Whatsoever. Sorry?
I said, hang on, let me find an old show.
Oh, Jesus. I don't lose my voice as long as I have my own medicine. And then when I ran out, and bless their hearts for donating, a few friends have donated, and I'm having problems again.
Yeah, and that's all in the clearing process. If you're using
for years everywhere I go, really, I think it's the use of them all together.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. But if you say if you do it right,
smoking, I'm not washing it off. I'm not making extracts. If I was making extracts, it probably wouldn't. Maybe I wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah. Like if at the end of the year your leaves aren't turning yellow and starting to fall off, then you probably haven't cleared properly, because when you get rid of all of those nutrients, whether they're organic or chemical, if you clear it all properly, that's what happens. All the big fan leaves will all pale out, turn yellow, start to fall off, and that means that they've lost all of their nutrients, and that's what you want before you harvest. And if you do that, then you're really not getting those chemicals in your finished product. So it just takes a little bit of conscious effort, and if you're willing to put out that effort, you will get a nice, clean product when you harvest, indoor or outdoor.
Okay, if you find any growers that are really successful at that, I would love to try their product. To be honest, I've never.
Let me raise my hand here.
I've never been happy with anybody's but mine, ever.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. Like I said, I get samples all the time, and where most of them go, right? Like I'm a snob. I like my stuff, and that's what happens when you do it right and you get the best product. You start to get picky.
Oh yeah, and, somebody that at a dispensary actually saw my tiny little jar of flowers and laughed. And then they showed me their 8 jars that all looked the same, only a little bit different color, 8 different versions of Chindro, and everyone smelled slightly different than the next.
Yep. Yeah, but
and my funny little jar smelled beautiful and still does, like bubblegum.
To me, the taste is so important too. It's got to taste good. And if it bites the back of your throat, and that's probably what you were getting when you were losing your voice. You were getting that harshness on the back of your throat, and that's what does it. That's the chemicals that haven't been properly cleared, and if you don't want those, and it doesn't taste good, and it's not a good product. And we haven't even touched on pesticides either. I mean, that's a whole nother issue, and it can affect your end product so adversely and affect you and your health.
My pesticides are ladybugs, wasps, and birds.
There you go. Those are the best ones. You can't beat Mother Nature for sure.
I buy ladybugs and wasps. The birds come on their own.
They would, wouldn't they?
We probably get 20 people a week that come in and say, "Oh, I got spider mites. What do I do?" And you just don't have a lot of good choices once you get spider mites indoors. Okay, like outdoors, not a problem, but indoors, you just don't have a lot of good choices. There's not much you can do. So, the first thing I tell them is, okay, the best way to deal with spider mites is to just not get them to start with. If I can offer some advice to people right now about getting spider mites indoors, there's 3 ways that you get them. Number 1 is your buddy says to you, "Oh, I'm growing this awesome strain. It's really great. You got to take a cutting and try it out." And you say to them, "Well, do you have bugs?" And they say, No, I don't have bugs." So you take the cutting, and guess what? You got bugs. Okay.
Exactly.
So, number 2 most popular way to get spider mites, you got some plants growing outdoors, and you go, "Wow, this is an awesome strain. I want to keep some of this." So you take a cutting from something outdoors, and you bring it indoors.
Ooh.
Well, there's spider mites on your plants outdoors. They're not a problem because there's all kinds of predators out there that are keeping them at bay, and they never become an issue. But as soon as you take that plant indoors, you leave all those predators outside, and the spider mites go gaga. And the number 3 most popular way to get spider mites is when you go to a nursery or a grocery store and you buy a house plant and you bring that home. You're bringing home spider mites. Virtually every plant you buy in a nursery or in a grocery store, I can just about guarantee it has spider mites. So my advice to these people is, okay, you've got them now. You're in big trouble now, but for future reference, the best way to deal with spider mites is to just not get them to start with. And that means starting your own seed, starting with a clean room, starting your own seed, growing it out, keeping your own mother. Don't take any cuttings. If you do bring something in from outdoors and you bring it indoors, while it's, once it gets its roots, that's when to deal with them. If you're going to use, pyrethrin sprays or something like that, some sort of, sort of poisonous, but not quite that bad stuff. It's the time to do it is when the plant is small. It's easier to deal with them then, and a lot of times you can get rid of them. But I don't recommend bringing. I try to steer people away from doing that kind of stuff. And once you get into that mode, like like I say, I get samples all the time, and all the time I get people saying, "Hey, I've got this great strain. Hey, you want a cutting?" And I'm like, yeah, no, I think I'm good. I
know.
If I have a really nice plant outside, it'll be from a cutting from inside. It's not going back in.
You don't take them back in. You just leave them there, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And one thing. Oh, sorry. I was going to say one thing too. A lot of people don't notice the spider mites on their house plants because they do not thrive on house plants the way they clearly thrive on cannabis.
That's absolutely true, and that's because it's a soft, fleshy leaf that is full of good juice that they can easily access, whereas a lot of the house plants aren't like that. They got tougher leaves, they've got less juice, they've got, they're just not as yummy to
they are in themselves a toxicity also, right? Other house plants?
Some are like the
Yeah.
chrysanthemum. The chrysanthemums, that's what they make pyrethrin out of. Is made from the chrysanthemum plant. And you think, well, okay, it's made from a plant, so it's got to be organic. Well, no, it's not. Like poinsettias are plants too, but they'll kill you if you eat too much. And there are plants out there that are highly toxic, and if you concentrate them down into a spray and spray them onto your plant, that's not organic. It is still poisonous. You don't want to be inhaling that stuff or ingesting it, especially inhaling it, but you don't want to be eating it, inhaling it, or consuming it in any way, shape, or form. And that's something that too many people, once they get spider mites, they're willing to just accept that risk and go ahead and put the poison on, and then they keep their product and they use their product, and yeah, there's no telling what it's doing to your throat, to your lungs, to your who knows what. It's been an issue even with concentrates. Like I've read some articles about oil that's been made out of, like honey oil made out of CO2, that actually concentrates down the pesticides into the oil. Yeah, so if you're getting CO2 oil from a crop that's been sprayed with pesticides, you're getting highly concentrated pesticides in your CO2 oil.
Holy fuck.
So, a lot of people, are adamant about CO2 being the cleanest of all the ways to extract oils, and it is if you start with a clean product. But if you start with a product that's had pesticides sprayed on it, you are concentrating those pesticides too. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
particularly, like, you may not be carrying the heavy metals in some of the extractions where you would be carrying pesticides too, right?
True. Of course, heavy metals are not usually a big
like residuals from some nutrients. You know what I mean?
Most of that stuff, though, happens to be water soluble, does it not? And therefore, it's not going to get stripped with your organic solvents, whether it be alcohol, butane, CO2, or whatever.
Yep.
Right, and if you're using a solvent and the pesticide is an oil-based sort of thing, it would therefore go into the solution, right?
Yeah, and the only oil-based one that most people use that I can think of would be your neem oil, which is non-toxic, but it makes everything like neem oil.
Still prefer not to have it in your extract.
Oh,
yeah, no, you don't, and you don't want it on your dried product either. And the thing about neem oil is that once it gets on there, you can't wash it off, and that's why it works so well and as a repellent, because it's got a high residual. It sticks to the leaf and it stays there.
I use frogs.
Yeah, frogs are
good. Yeah.
Seriously, they love them.
We had a lot of frogs last year.
Frogs with an R or without the R?
Frogs with an R.
Like
frogs with an R, yeah.
Okay.
No,
okay.
little tree frogs that live on my plants in the backyard.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah, we had a lot last year.
Yep.
And on that riveting fact...
riveting.
Riveting. Froggies.
Yes. Riveting for a break.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break because everybody here has got to go tinkle and re-roll. I got another song from Bobby Frick's George, and it's a short one. And then we're going to listen to Chris Backer in her news. We'll be back in about 8 minutes or maybe a little bit longer than that. This is the 420 Radio Show. If you got any questions for these folks, please give us... come on in the chat room at lifestyleradio.ca. How's about that?
Yeah, and ask them.
Don't be or hit us up on Facebook, or you can tweet us at the 420 Radio Show. Don't be shy. Come on in and say hi. Hey, that remind. There you go. I'll be back.
I don't think George really chopped down the cherry tree. I think he just got caught with his hand around the axe. Words out he grew hemp. What did he do with all the weed? I don't think George really chopped down the cherry tree when he smoked a peace pipe with his Indian friends. They didn't have Prince Albert in a can, and they didn't smoke cherry blend. I don't think George really chopped down the cherry tree think he just got caught with his hand around the axe. Words out he grew hemp. What did he do with all the weed? I don't think George really chopped down the cherry tree. When he smoked a peace pipe with his Indian friends, they didn't have Prince Albert in a can, and they didn't smoke cherry blend. I don't think George really chopped down the cherry tree. I think he just got caught with his hand around the axe. Words out he grew hemp. What did he do with all the weed? I don't think George really chopped down the cherry tree. I don't think George really chopped down the cherry tree. I really don't, folks.
Good evening. I'm Coulter Wonkite. I'm already into the 420, damn it.
Radio show. This is your 420 seconds of news with Chris Backer. A marijuana policy project-backed initiative falls over 10,000 signatures short because of over 17,000 of those signatures were deemed invalid due to a handwriting technicality. Voters in Maine will not have the opportunity to legalize marijuana in November after a proposed initiative to end marijuana prohibition failed to qualify for the 2016 ballot. The Maine Secretary of State's office announced Wednesday that it... Thank you for joining us on the 420 Radio Show. This is your 420 seconds of news with Chris Backer. A marijuana policy project-backed initiative falls over 10,000 signatures short because of over 17,000 of those signatures.
Oh yes, me roll it. Me not care what you say, strictly herb it and me brain. Yes, me love me cannabis, yeah. Me name a Sensera, yeah. Me always have Mary's line. Oh yes, me roll it. Me not care what you say, strictly herb it and me brain. Roll up your ganja spray. Roll up your ganja spray. So you can pass me the whistle, pass me the whistle. I wanna be less spliff. If you have the ganja, can't smoke with anyone to beg everything. You got something for yourself. Smoke ganja hard. You got the whistle on. Oh yes, me roll it. Me not care what you say, strictly herb it and me brain. Yes, me love me cannabis, yeah. Me name a Sensera, yeah. Me always have Mary's line. Oh yes, me roll it. Me not care what you say, strictly herb it and me brain. Roll up your ganja spray. Roll up your ganja spray. Alright. You never see me beg you feel no like that. No rolling paper, no ganja. Me own things always there. In a me backyard, me grow a big cali tree. As soon she a go ready, me a go smoke and nice and steady. So now the herbs come around. Me a fair rising in the morning, me a go pick up from the ground. That's my where this came from. Sensera coffee, me name and me marijuana off the floral. Oh yes, me roll it. Me not care what you say, strictly herb it and me brain. Yes, me love me cannabis, yeah. Me name a Sensera, yeah. Me always have Mary's line. Oh yes, me roll it. Me not care what you say.
We're getting the news live.
And we're going to get the news live tonight. Yes, we are.
Bone.
So we're going to get the lose. We're going to get the lose night. We're going to get the news live tonight because for some reason the audio wasn't working on the feed there. So here's Chris Backer and the news.
Just a couple things. The Marijuana Policy Project-backed initiative fell short by 10,000 signatures because over 17,000 of those signatures were deemed invalid due to what they called a handwriting technicality. Voters in Maine will not have an opportunity to legalize marijuana in November after a proposed initiative to end marijuana prohibition failed to qualify for the 2016 ballot. Maine Secretary of State's office announced Wednesday that the proposal fell short, just over 10,000 signatures short. Backers, however, contend that more than enough valid signatures were submitted. Over 100,000 raw signatures were collected, and organizers are exploring legal challenges to the signature count. We're going to fight to ensure that the 17,000 Maine voters whose signatures were in question have their voices heard, as well as the tens of thousands of Mainers whose voices will be silenced if this doesn't make the ballot, said State Representative Diane Russell, a supporter of the initiative and longtime champion of marijuana law reform in legislature. I've always fought for the rights of Maine people to engage with the democracy and vote, and I will continue to do so on this initiative. The proposed initiative would allow adults 21 years of age and older to possess up to 2.5 ounces of cannabis and grow up to 6 mature plants or 12 immature plants in their homes. It would also establish the framework for a tightly regulated system of licensed marijuana retail stores, cultivation facilities, product manufacturing facilities, and testing facilities. It would also create rules for governing the cultivation, testing, transportation, and sale of cannabis. The retail cannabis industry would be overseen by the state's Department of Agriculture, with retail sales subject to a 10% flat sales tax. Medical cannabis sales will not be subject to the sales tax. The proposal would also allow for marijuana social clubs. That being said, there's also a bill that aims to bring smaller cannabis producers into the recreational market in Oregon's Senate. A bill that would make it easier for some smaller medical cannabis growers to enter the regulated recreational market cleared the Oregon Senate on Monday. Senate Bill 1598 passed in a 20-8 vote and now leads the Oregon House. It would allow certain growers to apply for a state recreational marijuana license without having to first obtain a land use compatibility statement. Love that. Those statements are issued by local governments and confirm that a cannabis production site meets local zoning rules. Under current law, all cannabis producers applying for an Oregon Liquor Control Commission license must get a land use statement. I love how they all go together, right? The proposed legislation removes that requirement for small-scale cannabis growers located outside of city limits, provided they were registered with the Oregon Health Authority before January 1st. The provision is intended to help bring smaller growers into the regulated recreational market through a so-called micro-canopy license, which would come at lower fees and fewer requirements. The same bill adds medical and research cannabis grows as recognized farm crops, making them easier to locate in exclusive farm use areas, protecting them from lawsuits filed by neighbors over perceived nuisances like odors and noise. Recreational cannabis grow sites are already recognized as farm crops under state law. The proposed legislation also makes clear that the local governments can impose reasonable time, place, and manner regulations on those cannabis operations. The bill also clarifies a subcategory of dispensaries for nonprofits. These establishments would be allowed to accept excess cannabis from growers and sell to patients for little or no cost. It also requires the health authority to study medical cannabis access in areas underserved by dispensaries and retailers once the state's regulated cannabis industry is off the ground. Also, Bill Maher was smoking a joint on television. I don't know if anybody saw that during the February 12th episode of Real Time with Bill Maher. The host produced and lit what appeared to be a cannabis joint as he launched into a talk talking about the legality of marijuana. The segment focused on the possibility of a repeal of medical and recreational cannabis laws. The light-up occurred at a roughly 5-minute, 58-second mark. Portions of the video contain profanity and drug references. It was a really good video. If anybody had a chance to check it out, he made a lot of really good points. Social media users wondered whether Mayer, who immediately began coughing before passing the joint to rapper and guest Killer Mike, legitimately smoked cannabis during the show. Mayer addressed the question via his Twitter account, stating that a 2010 segment involving Zach Galifianakis was staged, but this was legitimate. As to whether Mayer truly lit up during real time, this time he lit inhaled, created a distinctly marijuana-like puff of smoke, and Mayer himself stood by and claimed that the joint was real. On several occasions, the comic referenced possessing and using medical cannabis card, often with the running joke that it was for a strychnine, bad back, or whatever. And that incident spawned into something else. Bill Mayer inspires a plan for a massive cannabis smoking protest at the White House. President Barack Obama may smell something familiar on April 2nd when cannabis activists inspired by comedian Bill Mayer's host what they believe will be a massive act of civil disobedience in front of the White House. To underscore the call for rescheduling cannabis, the protest's April 2nd date was selected as a tongue-in-cheek rescheduling of the traditional April 20th pot holiday. Toke-up time, however, remains 4:20 p.m. Edinger says Obama, who believes cannabis is less dangerous to consume than alcohol, is reformer's best shot at rescheduling the drug, which would allow greater research and a potential for its use as lawful medicine and for flinging open penitentiary doors. He should pardon tens of thousands of cannabis growers in jail right now, and he should be pardoning them all. The war on drugs is a failure, he said. Mass incarceration is a failure, then do something about it. Rescheduling the drug would not make it federally legal, but Edinger said it would be a significant step along that path. Cannabis currently is a Schedule I substance and a federal classification for drugs with a potential for abuse and no accepted medicinal value. The plan was unveiled on Super Tuesday, one of the most significant days in the presidential primary season, with cannabis reformers less enthused with Republican frontrunner Donald Trump and Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton. Well, we won't hopefully talk about that anymore throughout the episode, both of whom embrace states' rights position, but not about cannabis use. And that was your 420 seconds worth of news. Thank you, and back to the 420 radio show.
I have a question for you, Chris.
Lay it on me.
Was he? I read that he was fined. Do you know if that was true?
No, it's complete spoof. He didn't get fined at all.
All right. Yeah, that's what I thought.
$1.7 million.
Yep.
No, never happened.
Yep. Well, thanks for doing that, buddy. I don't know what happened. The clip didn't play, or the volume was down, or I don't know. But doesn't matter. Chris has been doing it a while, so he knows what he's doing.
You did a good job.
That's why he was here.
That was a good job live, dude.
It was. Maybe we should do it live every week. See, you went and fucked it up, dude.
Who let the dogs out?
I spoke too soon. That's hilarious. Like it was on cue.
So we wanted to pick up our conversation and talk. We were talking about pesticides and fertilizers and stuff like that. One of the things that is on a lot of patients' minds in Canada these days, and I'm sure everywhere, is the fact that pesticides are used, and the ILPs have been granted the right to use some Monsanto stuff or whatever it's called.
Monsanto.
It's not that they're granted rights; that they're restricted to what they can and can't use.
And that happens to be something they can.
Yeah. Just hang on a second. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, there's a list of. Is there 9 different or 7? I didn't catch how many on the list, but just a list of accepted pesticides for use on medicinal cannabis.
Just the mere fact that Health Canada is saying accepted pesticides scares the shit out of me. We're not talking about ingesting; we're talking about inhaling. And there's two.
Right.
It's a totally different animal what these pesticides can do to your lungs as opposed to the edible pesticides.
Right. And it's the same argument with the radiation as well. They're saying, oh well, our foodstuffs, our carrots, and all this other stuff. There's pesticides are used and fertilizers are used and they're irradiated, but we're eating them. We don't smoke them.
That's right.
Millstop Actinovate, Opal insecticidal, Opal's insecticidal soap, Nudosan commercial, Copa insecticidal soap, and Root Shield HC biological fungicide wettable power, and Root Shield WP biological fungicide. Those are what's approved for pest management. You can't use ladybugs, you can't use anything other than what they say you can use.
That silent really means something, though. That little bit of silence there, that means something, because it's just like this whole solvent thing.
I mean, that list there, I would never use anything on that list.
No, me either.
So what are you supposed to do? Break the law, I guess. But aren't you forfeiting your right?
No.
Those are only the licensed producers.
Oh, okay. Thank you for telling me that.
So if you're buying from a licensed producer and they have a pest control problem, they have to use one of the things on there to address the issue that they have. And it just brings me back to this growing indoors thing. You have fake air, fake sun, fake dirt, fake water, fake CO2.
Here's their non-compliant.
Oh, God.
In the event that an unregistered pesticide is used on marijuana plants that are intended for sale or provision, Health Canada will require licensed producers to destroy the marijuana plants and or dried marijuana and or proceed with a recall if the product has already been sold.
And they've already had to do that a couple of times.
Well, no, their recalls weren't for using unapproved poisons. Their recalls were because they were sending out moldy bud.
There have been recalls for pesticide ones.
Oh, very likely, yeah.
One was bacteria, one was mold, a couple were mold. Yeah. Actually, I haven't looked recently to see how many.
Bacteria? What kind of bacteria are we talking about? Wouldn't that be like are we talking feces?
Yeah, like E. coli or salmonella or what actually was it?
I don't know. One was, I would be concerned about the mold one. I know somebody that actually was exposed to mold in a grain silo. They had horrible lung infection from it, and they weren't smoking it.
No. But I mean, people get sick all the time from mold toxicity.
Yeah.
But I've never heard of anybody ever getting sick from moldy weed.
I've smoked moldy weed. I have had moldy weed, and the only thing it's done is make me cough.
And gag and horrible taste.
It was a horrible taste.
Hard to get into you.
Yeah, it's hard to get into you, but it's never caused any detrimental harm. So, but we have a trick for that, don't we, Chris? What do you do with moldy stuff?
We water cure it.
Water cure it. Wash that mold away.
Explain,
literally.
Please. Explain.
It's the best way to deal with your concentrates. If you're worried about the pesticides and everything else, you wash it all away, and you wind up with the cleanest cannabis you're going to have.
Yeah.
Can you explain what you're talking about? Because I have no idea what you're talking about.
If you've got
the water soluble versus solvent soluble stuff. Okay, go for it.
Yeah, just osmosis happens whether the plant is alive or dead. So if you've got cannabis and you're worried about what may or may not be in it, anything that's bad in cannabis is water soluble. Whether it's your food, mold, mildew, pesticides, fungicides, they're all made with water. They're all mixed with water. Except like we said, except for like the neem oil. So that if they're made with water and the only thing that isn't is the crystal, which is the part you're trying to keep, you can soak your cannabis and wash off all the bad stuff. Okay, you just do that a couple of times, keep changing your water, and you wind up with clean weed. Okay, now the downside is, if it was good cannabis before, it doesn't taste the same. The smell and the taste kind of goes away with it too.
Right, and the reason for that is a lot of the terpenes and flavonoids and a few of the other cannabinoids are water soluble, so you end up washing away a lot of that flavor and smell.
Exactly. Right. You end up with clean, safe product.
Ross, I'm gonna ask you, Ross, if you can pause or mute your mic when you're not talking, because you're getting a little bit of hiss.
Oh, am I? Okay.
Yeah. It's okay. I'm not scolding you or anything.
No.
You're just hissing at us.
I'm just you're
Well,
hissing.
I certainly don't want to hiss.
With the flavor of the cannabis, one of the things that occurred to me earlier when we were discussing the different outdoor versus indoor and the different flavors and smells and things. One thing that I noticed specifically with vaporizing, my experience was with a volcano. Somebody had been smoking the cannabis that they produced and thought it was just fine. And we had the opportunity to put it in a volcano, and bless his heart, you could taste that it wasn't fine. And only because it was vaporized, you could tell it was a bit moldy. You know what I mean? But smoking it because it was being burned, you never would have known. So, just I love trying that. That's probably the only time I ever put one strain by itself is when you're vaporizing flower, because that's the only time I really appreciate the flavors that much, I think.
I don't like the flavor anymore, so it don't.
Oh, do you know? I have some I just absolutely love.
I love the flavor, and I love the smell. I love the look of it.
I like the flavor of hash.
Yeah,
I like the smell of hash.
I like pollen hash. The dry sift. Oh man, that's just the cat's ass right there.
Oh,
I like fruity
I like all
flowers.
hash. Well, all hash, but I've just did some dry sift pollen that just and compressed it with just a little touch of heat and some compression, and it came out. I could take this stuff to Morocco, and I know that those guys would just go gaga over it. And of course, I watched about 3 hours worth of videos of hash making in Morocco before I did it. So
yeah,
I have to go to Belleville.
Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah, you need to trip to Belleville.
Oh, it's a hell of a lot closer than coming to visit me. You really should. Maybe we can meet halfway.
Yeah,
sometime.
I'll meet you halfway, Lori. Ross, I just want you to take a second and give a little plug for your store and also your group that you are a member of, please, if you don't mind.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'll start with the store, I guess. We're in Belleville, Ontario. That's probably is about halfway between you, Al, and Lori. Yep. If you guys ever want to come down and meet in the middle, I'd be more than happy to host you guys at the store. And
we'll work on that.
We don't have a lounge or anything, but we can sure etiquette if you want to.
Oh, we can figure that out. Yep.
Yeah.
And set up a grow tent and do a show from the grow tent.
There you go.
That would be cool.
That would be
in the parking lot. In the parking lot.
I'm on site in the parking lot.
I don't know how big your store is, so that's why I'm saying do it in the store.
Oh, they're in a nice little strip mall. There's a big parking lot outside.
We have a demo room. We have a demo room that's probably about 10 foot by 12 foot, and we have a HID light in there on a light mover, going back and forth. We're just growing, house plants and whatnot, but it's a good place to see, how it all works.
We're going to work on that, and maybe you can do some demos and stuff. Demos are really hard to do, I guess, on radio.
Yeah, it's hard to see a demo.
Yeah, but
don't you have a YouTube channel? We could always do a YouTube live.
We do. But if
could do that.
If you smoke,
I am keeping a photographic record of my my little tent grow here.
Okay,
so I'm going to be, I'll have lots of photos that I'll probably share on Facebook, just to show the progression and maybe make a little video out of it, and just do a little time lapse thing or something like that, and people can see how it goes from start to finish and have a look at the equipment, how it works, and how everything comes out in the end.
That would be awesome. Yeah. But if you close your eyes real tight and smoke a fatty, and you can kind of imagine it all right there, just doing what it's supposed to do, and just come on, everybody.
I spend 6 months of the year waiting for the summer to come back because there's no way to. No way to explain being outside surrounded by cannabis plants.
I can't count on my hands and feet how many people I know who are like frothing at the mouth, just waiting. It's like an Olympic waiting line, waiting for the gun to go, and you're off. You know.
For indoor gardening, there is something Jack Kungle has filled me in, and I don't know if he was talking when he was on the show about the method he uses. For space constraint, he has a table, I think he said 4x8, and he does, how do you put that? Instead of vegging the plant, he gets it to like 8 or 10 inches tall and puts it right into flower.
Yeah.
So he has a table full of colas, and it works out to, I think, every 55 days, and he does 40 plants or something like that, I think. With the auto flowers, right? Because it's like a 55-day plant that he has. And yeah, so a size constraint, as we said earlier, totally depends on what you have, what you can manage, what you can afford. And yeah, where you are.
That's absolutely true. And we can, we always help people maximize the space that they have and get the maximum amount of yield that they can from that space. Had a lot of success, and of course, there are some people who just probably shouldn't be growers, but there's not much you can do for those folks. But we do our best to help them.
When it boils right down to it, okay, it's a matter of what you have to spend. Somebody living, I know 5, I don't even know how many years ago, we did a whole 3-hour show on basically odor proofing your dorm room. And we scoured the internet. We got a bunch of stuff off of Google, little ideas on the whole tube blowing through the tube into a fabric softener sheet, and things like that, right? We had fun with it. We really did. We even got a few gadgets that we reviewed on the show for specifically stuff like that. But it's a real issue when you're talking about that's all fun and games there, but it's a real issue when you're talking about somebody who needs their medicine. When it becomes goes from a want to a need, there has to be allowances for something like that.
There was a product I had once. I've never been able to find it again. It was some kind of smoke eater that was made with orange oil, and it was, instead of an aerosol, a pump.
I've seen those.
It was awesome.
They sit in a little, it's about the size of a margarine container, and you pull a sticker off the top, and it's got little holes in it, and it just sits there. And there's called smoke eaters, and we watched a video. Somebody had them in his grow room, and he put them all on the top of the tent and all over the room and all that, just to control the smell. And it worked really well. At least that's what he said on the video. Whether or not it really worked well, I don't know.
We sell something at the store. It's called Ona Block, and it comes in different scents, and one of them's called Fresh Linen.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
A very popular one, but they've recently come out with an apple crumble, which is and boy, you can actually smell it when we first put it up on the shelves and stuff. The whole store smells like you just baked an apple pie.
Wow!
And those things, what you do with those is you set it by your front door, so when somebody comes and knocks on your door and you open your door, instead of getting wafted by whatever's in your basement, they get wafted by apple crumble pie, and everything's cool. So that's a good way to kind of mask odors if you can't afford a carbon filter and all, the fan system and all that stuff. That's we do sell a lot of that, and it seems to work pretty good for people.
It's cherry berry, crazy cherry berry. The little blocks that you put in the candle thingy. That's what you get when you walk in here. That's what you smell as soon as you walk in.
You could smell worse things, though.
Yeah. Crazy berry.
With regard to odor and smell, that's a perfect opportunity to segue to that thing recently where the Queen Elizabeth Hospital giveaway of a beautiful home was scrapped because it was next door to a medical marijuana grow house,
Yeah, we
quote
talked
unquote.
about that last week. Yeah, is there anything that happened with that?
Well, I have to say that's the same house that was a huge issue a year ago because of the smell in the neighborhood and the school nearby.
Well, I knew that.
Discretionary behavior regarding.
It said that in the article
smell.
that it wasn't the first time. Yeah, I remember that.
Right.
Yeah, but just because you're legal doesn't mean that you shouldn't be considerate to your neighbors. You know what I mean?
Bingo. Thank you.
Yes, and so you should be taking care of those orders just out of respect for the people around you. And I mean, obviously,
You know
children aren't going to choke and die as they walk by your house on it. But people don't want that wafting into their window or into their backyard or whatever. And
I have more respect now that I'm legal.
Into my windows.
I have more respect now that I'm legal for that exact thing than I did when I wasn't, because when I wasn't, I was growing. Okay, but now that I am, I'm not. I mean, because I was in a house then, right? So I was growing on my own, and my friends would walk up, and I was right in the center of town, and my buddies would come over, and they say, "Al, you can smell that at the fucking sidewalk, dude." You know, but I didn't care then. I didn't care.
Right.
Now I'm legal, and I care because I don't want to fuck it up for other people, and I think that has something to do with it.
In a situation like that one in Markham or wherever the hell that was, I have to say, there has to be a point where bylaws have to kick in and take over. And this is another situation where I'm sitting here just absolutely stunned why because we're allowed to do something as a medicine, legally produce it, not only do we have to be, polite about it and cognizant of others, in my opinion, but at some certain point bylaw enforcement has to kick in as to the enjoyment and viability of the rest of the neighborhood for everybody else, right?
Is odor going to be an issue, do you think, with this whole legalization thing and stuff?
Odor is not a public nuisance.
But is it going to, maybe not, but is it going to be an issue? Is it going to be an issue, though? Because that's the only real issue.
All the time, and for it to be a nuisance, it has to be ongoing and persistent.
Right.
Okay, and it only comes and go when you're growing. The smell depends on which way the wind's blowing, depends on what growth you're at. Nobody smells it all the time. I mean, you go whine bitch because every once in a while you smell it, but every once in a while people have fires and I got to deal with the smoke from my neighbor. Okay, do I got to call the cops on them all the time? That's ridiculous. Deal with it.
Yeah.
It's outside. You smell all kinds of stuff. And do the neighbors complain because farms have cows that smell bad? I mean,
Marcel's having issues, I think.
The whole secondhand smoke thing has been a big issue that's been dealt with, and now you're not allowed to smoke within, so many meters of an entranceway into a building.
And is that because of the odor or because it's tobacco?
I think both. Well, for me, it's both because I don't like the smell of it, and I don't like the fact that I'm inhaling all these carcinogens too. Here's a question for you then. Do you don't
using cannabis? We're medicating. We're not smoking.
That's right. So if you don't smoke tobacco, but you do smoke cannabis. Do you smoke cannabis in public, Ross?
I will smoke cannabis in public, but I try to be considerate of other people. I mean, I'm not, in your face just because I'm legal. I'm not just going to sit there and blow the smoke.
I will walk down the street, though. I mean, I'm like that too. I won't just, I won't be offensive about, but I will walk down. I mean, I've been walking around Toronto since I was 19 smoking. Why should I stop now? Right?
Because it's illegal.
I think
it's illegal. It's illegal, but it's not illegal.
Hide is my point. That's the whole thing. I'm tired of having to hide. Even when, like I said, when we grow and there might be a little bit extra smell, you got to sit there and have panic attacks because you wait for the cops to kick your door in.
Yep.
With paranoia and fear, it's bullshit. I'm done.
And the same thing happens every time I go down to the dispensary in the city. I got a 4-hour drive home. Yep. Worrying about, am I going to get pulled over when I go through this town or that town? Is there a ride program out tonight? And I don't smoke and drive. I'm not doing anything wrong, but I'm seeing a lot of articles every day now about somebody getting into a big sticky wicket with cannabis because they were driving, not necessarily smoking. One guy had just got a fine for having roaches in his ashtray. You know?
Well, how do they know the passenger didn't put them there?
Okay, no, that's a good question. When you're driving down the street, okay, I'm in the car, I'm driving down the street, I'm not driving. I have my license, but I'm not driving, so I've got a driver driving the car, and I light up a doobie, and all of a sudden we come to a ride. Am I okay?
I would say you would be, but they're going to search your car probably, because I've been pulled over by a ride right after smoking one too, and sure enough, every time they search your car and they do what they got to do. I mean, I got charged for possession of one joint, and the guy that charged me actually ended up a week later coming to my house and pinning a note on my door apologizing for charging me and saying that don't worry about it, we've dropped the charges. So I think it depends a lot on who the which law enforcement official you're talking to at the time. Some are pretty reasonable and some aren't, and I unfortunately had a good cop bad cop situation at this ride. The one guy was okay and the other guy was like frothing at the mouth over a joint. It was pretty disturbing, actually.
It's also a lot of what happens to you is also dependent on how your attitude and how you. That's right. Cops.
Yes. If you're like, you pull up and you're like, hey man, what's going on? I didn't do anything. I'm just driving. Hey, you're gonna get, in trouble.
Sure. Yeah, but I was very polite. I and very, very mild mannered about the whole thing, and you just
what kind of things did they ask you?
You get that contrast from one officer to the next. One is cool with it, and the other one just is all up in arms about it, and that's hopefully all that's going to end in the future, and they're just going to have to, like, if those cops that don't like it, they don't like it now, they're going to really hate the future, right?
I have not.
Canada, the land of discretionary justice.
I haven't been walked up on a cop since I was a kid. I got walked up on at the Ryerson skating rink park, little park there. I was sitting there with my buddies. We had just come out of the theater when it was the Imperial 6 Theater in Toronto from watching the movie Colors. And we were sitting there having a bake on after the movie, talking about the movie, and two guys walked up on us. That's the last time I've ever been in trouble. Now, I've been walking around Toronto since I was a kid doing that. But I think that, and I do it now. I mean, as recent as the corner of Eglinton and Yonge, I was standing there smoking a doobie. I walk away from my mom and my sister. They don't like it. I go for a little walk, and I walk around the corner, and I come back. Nobody has ever said anything. They get looks. You get looks. It's fun to play. You get little comments. Did you smell that? Did you smell that? That guy's smoking marijuana.
I sat in a parked car one time in downtown Bowmanville and smoked, like a half a joint, and a guy came out of the building right next to where I was parked, and so as soon as he came walking out of it was like an little apartment complex. So as soon as he came walking out, he was like, "Are you smoking weed?" Yeah. And I looked at him and I said, "No, I'm not. I think it's coming out of that window up there." And you see the look on his face.
I was accosted by looks from a few little old people while I was sitting with a sticker on the car in the wheelchair parking at Walmart, having a doobie while everybody else was inside, and just the looks and the double takes and the hand going past the nose.
As well as breastfeeding, huh?
Yeah. I should have been breastfeeding. I would have gotten a better response, I think.
Breast smoking might work. I don't know.
So
I think we're less wrong if we go sell ourselves on the street now.
Yeah.
Well, that's legal to do. It's just illegal to buy it, right?
Right.
That's like illegal to grow it, but not being legal to possess it, right?
Yeah, kind of like that. But that was the old Harper mentality, right? Let's take a Supreme Court ruling and let's bastardize the hell out of it and make it into something that it wasn't supposed to be. And I don't hear our new government talking about changing that either. So
I'm pretty disappointed in Justin right now.
What was that, Chris? You broke up.
I said, I'm pretty disappointed in Justin right now.
Yeah, I watched I did watch that interview. I watched the whole thing, and he was very laid back and very conversational, but he didn't really say anything that we haven't already heard or we didn't already know, and that's what disappointed me. He gave them a canned answer on that subject.
And that's all they're giving right now. I mean, they're just giving that standard line, and they keep repeating the same stuff over and over. And I got to tell you, it's the same thing that they said during the election campaign, and they just keep repeating that over and over. And until they get those regulations in place, I think that's all we're going to hear.
Yeah, but then you get the top guy himself. Was it Bill Blair? Having conversations with people like Lori, which I hope you're going to have more of them with him, Lori.
Actually, oh heavens, what is it? Hang on, let me turn on the light so I can read what I'm doing this week. I'm going to a discussion on criminal justice reform in Ottawa, at the Delta Ottawa on Thursday this week. And then on the 23rd, I have my first scheduled appointment with a senator to go and discuss the fact that the government has basically just to start networking and meeting people and letting people touch somebody whose life depends on this.
Oh, just
bullshit.
Make sure you wash your hands and stuff, okay? Just make sure you wash your hands. You never know what them lobbyists are going to have on them.
Well, this is my point. Like, I'm going there to lobby for my life.
Yes.
Not because somebody's giving me money in my pocket. Although I am getting, in the last couple of weeks, I will thank those who are coming forward with donations to help pay my gas and my parking so that I can go do that. Every $50 donation to mcpacanada.org will get one day that I go bug people in Parliament. Because that's about what it cost me, $50 for gas and parking and necessities to do a day. I'm trying to double up, triple up, get as many appointments in one day there as I can. I've got 5 or 6 emails went out today to different selected people.
Awesome.
And basically our position going forward is that they have 6 months to get a viable constitutional medical program in place, and that should be exactly what their first goal is. And then the legalization can be a tack on to the end of that.
Chris,
basically following the proposal that we've been spewing out for years now.
Awesome. Chris, what's going on with court situations for folks that you're helping out?
Right now there's a lot of actions with people filing motions to quash charges, especially in light of the Allard decision. There's some kits out people are using to file, so they're saying that because the laws now are of no force or effect, that the charges should be dropped. That's kind of the angle that a lot of people are going right now, and from the gist of it, it makes a whole lot of sense to me. It's worked in Ontario a few times. They dropped charges against 4,000 people there a few years ago because of that kind of argument. So we're just trying to hope that it'll fly down here on the East Coast.
We can hope, eh? We can hope.
I think it's up to all of us. Like you mentioned about the group that I'm a member of, the Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners is a non-profit organization, and we're very focused on lobbying government the same way that the MCPAC is, and Lori's group and MUM on the East Coast. We're all kind of doing the same job, and there's a lot of other people too that are focusing on trying to influence government and influence the regulations, influence Health Canada, and hopefully we're going to see some coming together of all of us like-minded people to get the job done and get the job done right, and raise our voices a little bit so that the people at Health Canada listen to us, and we are the ones, us patients, we are the ones who use this as a medicine. We are the ones who produce it as a medicine. We are the ones who have the decades of knowledge, the experience to be able to advise them on what was wrong with the old MMAR and how we can make the new system better. And if we can get that message out there, if we can come together and all speak the same language and make the same arguments, I think there's a much higher likelihood that they're going to actually listen to us for a change.
We can hope, We can hope.
I agree.
Marcel, you got anything you want to bring up just as a closing argument kind of thing? Because I know you do like to argue.
I'm not arguing with anybody tonight.
Okay. What
I think I have hash in my eye.
I do want to make sure that I bring up that this week...
I thought it was too much ice cream.
Tomorrow night...
I had hash on my finger, and I think I rubbed it in my eyeball.
All right.
Ow.
Now let me...
I like a cannabis-related injury.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mark that down. Put it on the schedule.
Man down.
So I want to make sure that I bring up that.
I'll report
that's
that
a
to Health Canada.
THCV, eh? Yeah, that's a THC acid.
Got a contact high?
The contact high.
Well, I got a contact eye.
It's just a different form of administering it. That's it.
One of the few painful ways you can do that.
So listen, guys, I want to make sure that I bring something up before we go. Before we go, I want to bring something up. Mike Elveridge is doing this fourth annual Burger Revolution. And what he's going to be doing is playing artists from Burger Records. That's tomorrow night at 8 o'clock on LifestyleRadio.ca. We've also got a couple of new shows starting on Sunday night. The Hippie Lounge with Hippie Lloyd will be starting at 8 o'clock. And we cannot forget about Al Graham and his Angels and the Pace Radio Show, Wednesdays, 8 o'clock, right here on Lifestyle Radio, where live is live.
Not recorded live.
Not recorded live and then canned. No, what you're hearing is live. We do not edit. We're broadcasting live on our website at lifestyleradio.ca, and tonight for the first time on Spreaker. If you want to join... What's that?
They really do. They make me record the show, and I still have to do it live. Really
you know what?
Just like keeping you busy.
Next week, I'm gonna play both for you, Chris.
To do.
But I'm glad you showed up tonight so you could do the news so people could actually hear what the hell you were saying.
There you go.
They still didn't understand a word you said, but
okay.
Heard it.
Yeah, mumble.
You need
it was a good job.
You need to take your foot out of your mouth. On that note, folks, we're going to say goodnight. This is the 420 Radio Show. You can catch us here Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We replay the shows that we do here all the time. Have a listen when you're not doing anything. And we'll talk to you later, guys.
Have a good one.
Thank you very much, Ross, for joining us. And Ross will be around.
Yes. Thank you for having me on, Al. I've had a great time, and I look forward to doing it again.
Awesome.
Oh, you will be.
Oh, you will be.
Like you have a choice.
Yeah, you will be.
Happy to.
Good night, guys.
Night.
Good night.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
You like music, you like weed, well, we gonna be good friends indeed. This is how much I like more than smoking trees. They'll make you dance the do-si-do and teach you how the chiba grows. Smoke a bowl on the 420 Radio Show. On Lifestyle Radio.
what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
I'm trying to get on this LifestyleRadio website.